Weather's been tough. It's been cold, but finally coming back around to finish a few things up, get back to the Blaster. A few things going on. I do have a, boy, it's an American shoe company, or Kellogg company air compressor. I think it's about an 80 gallon from the 1940s or so. And I'm tearing that down because the motor is tripping breakers, and beyond me to repair that. So I'm having that taken down to a shop, and they'll rewind it, do what I need there, because I love the old patina on this motor. I'd rather reuse it than buy a new motor and put it on there. Then we'll keep going. I've got to hydro test this tank. It's a new to me tank, but that'll help me start moving towards doing things like bead blasting or vapor blasting, just everything a little bit at a time. Also had to take some time to work on my mother's Big Bear. It was starting to really just crank intermittently, and after chasing a number of things down, found it was the key switch. The key switch had failed. The resistance went from what was basically a couple of ohms, when you have a completed circuit there, to 20k ohms when you're trying to turn that key on. So it took a while to chase down, replace that. Then we were cranking again, and then found the spark was really weak. Also giving a hard time starting, so swapped out the stator. Both of those parts were knockoff parts, and I've replaced them with knockoff parts. So I got about a year out of that key switch and stator. So that's coming back together now. So here she is, installed. CTI Kit from Tech here. Kind of walk through. Here we have the mounting bracket. I'll call these spacer dowels. Mount through, block off. There we are. I haven't hooked my line up yet. Line's a little long for my liking here, but it'll work fine. I could probably go almost 10 centimeters shorter on there. Looking through, we have this clevis and spring on here, which is nice. Instead of trying to rig up a spring on the pedal down here to return, this will make sure your pedal returns. Now, one place that had caught me up last time I did this was on the back. These dowels here. So you have these longer screws and nuts, and then these dowels, these plastic dowels sit behind the frame to mount the other side of this bracket, which pinches. If you see that there, that's just pinching to hold on. Fits just fine around the gussets set. There's a nice shot there of both the CTI and HPM products working together. Now, with this all mounted together, and it came disassembled, so you got to take a moment to put things together here. Once you've seen it, it flies together. It's self-explanatory. First couple of times I did it, I had to take my time, but I'll try and give you a couple of good shots to help you when you go to put this together here. Notice on the bracket, if you can see, there's a CTI logo that goes up, sits right in, and it's threaded on this plate here. So you just go right through your carrier into the threads. Now, something else I've noticed here that I've got to pause and deal with. See, that bolt has rusted over in a couple of weeks since I was last working here. And come around, I've got rust sitting in on some of these that went through the tumbler and then buffed. Now, this one didn't, and I'll tell you why. That bolt, I use this Caswell penetrating sealer on. Just dipped it in and let it dry. Careful with this stuff. There is I guess I'll call it a level 1 health warning on there, but this, I did dip a few of the other bolts and nuts in. This guy, and sitting out here, this one held up very well. These others did not. So today I've actually got to slow down, go backwards a little bit here, because I'm going to take off that nut, buff and clean that up. I'm going to take this out, clean it up. Not as worried about the middle here, but everything that's visible. So what's neat about that is I'm learning. I did tumble them. I buffed them on a wheel, and they came out looking beautiful, but it didn't last with the moist weather and the winter. Got a month and they rusted up. But with the Caswell sealer, it's working. So knowing that, we're going to do it. Also, want to call out, I have motor parts back. Yes. We have everything we need now to put this motor together. Bottom cases have been vapor blasted and repaired. Thank you to Nick's Vapor Blasting for cleaning up these cases. He also did the cylinder and the head for me. I had another fella do some repair work on here, welded the tab back on because that had snapped off. And if you remember looking inside these cases, especially down the bottom, piston skirt had dropped and it kind of cracked down here. So this has been repaired with welds built up. There was also a crack in the case over here repaired. I mean, the cases were hurting after that cylinder dropped in there from the previous fella. You can see down in there, I think you can really kind of make out the patchwork. See if I can, yeah, all under the end of my finger there. That's been welded and patched, and then up around this screw as well. So it needed some love. We also got our Pro Design intake in. This is a large one because we're running a Air Striker carb, and we need this 35 millimeter intake as opposed to the stock. I've got the stock lying around here somewhere, which was that 28 millimeter size. It was not going to fit the stock boot. Oh boy, time for me to get building. Here we go. And we'll go into more detail once we start assembling here. But side by side, if I can get a reasonable angle there. Oh, a little tough to see. But this is, I want to call that a, well, you know what, we're going to measure it right now. So I'm being careful not to catch the raised lip here to hold the carb in. And I'm going to tell you as I'm working around here, and it's cold rubber and it may be a little distorted. 33 millimeter. This is a stock boot. And look at this beautiful setup. Look at that from Pro Design. And again, watching out, I don't want to measure on that lip there. But going in front of it, yeah, you can see there's my 33. 38. It's really 30, 38 and some change there. And that's because we're going to be running this guy with this motor, PWK 35. And this is just a much bigger carburetor there. And now you're looking at it, motor side, there was no way. There was just, wasn't going to happen. So I have dry fit, so this does fit together and work. And for this air intake side, doing something interesting. Another HPM goodie. This is 3D printed. It's fairly malleable, but this will replace the stock air box. So I can bolt this in and I can get this bigger, the greater airflow that we're looking for. A little bit of a lip on here. There's just a touch of a lip on this side too. This side will press over again because it's slightly flexible and lock in. Then we have carburetor side. Here we go. This side going to the air box again on this thing of beauty. We'll mount that up, and that's going to look just fantastic for the airflow. So we'll be going through more of this when we get to the motor, but we needed these pieces. Show you the airbox side. I'll be able to remove this from my airbox, put this one in its place, like so. And with that, I'll be able to run that OEM airbox, which is neat because my other option was to run a pod filter. I get into a lot of water and mud, even with a pre-filter on there. I'd rather have it sealed up best we can, so I can do that. The other option was to do a CFM airbox. They make a nice aluminum one that mounts in some square corners. Some guys would prefer not to have those corners and tight bends for the airflow. I just would love. I want to give this a shot. This is pretty neat. So thank you, HPM. Looking forward to doing that. The other thing, really what I'm doing out here today, it's all in the details. Let me show you this. Part of the CTI kit was this mounting plate and the foot peg, or the brake lever. And it's going to mount down here. See if I can do this one-handed, but about like so. Get into the clevis. Now, what I had to do, because I run Propeg nerfs, and I had Propeg nerfs for first generation blaster, you know, the 87, 88, that first year through 2002, the mechanical brakes. So on this side of the Propeg, this is the mount that comes with it, and I had to cut a piece off. It came with the stud, we'll call it, on here for those cable pull brake systems, and to be able to adapt the CTI kit, frankly, to adapt anything you're doing for the hydraulic set, I had to cut that off. So I cut it off, painted that, so that this peg is now ready to go back on here. So this will sandwich the CTI plate behind it, just like so. Then I will be able to match with the other side, get my Propeg nerfs back on there. Oh, and these came from CTI as well. These are the longer bolts for mounting through the plate. So I didn't even have to source these. It is a complete 100% kit to bolt on and go. I mean, really well thought out. So thank you, CTI. Really a great kit, well thought out. I'm running a few of them now. Thank you for doing this kind of stuff for the blaster community. This is nice workmanship. Moving on, and again, so much of this is prep work, and sometimes you've got to go backwards, like I've got to go backwards and do, redip some of those bolts. This is going to be the Blaster Shift Star, and I've pulled another one out here. This is one off of a Yamaha Big Bear. I want to call some things out, and I'm going to make some modifications. This is the stock OEM, and what I'm looking at is the rounded side of these stars, and this is a mod that guys always talk about doing, the Shift Star mod. Take down the sharp angle there, so it's a smoother shift. This is how this one comes from Yamaha. Rounded out on this side. This is a semi-auto transmission. Put my fingers on the two that I've already touched here. These side are the Blaster from factory. Really sharp. Put them side by side there. And you can just see how the Big Bear rounded out, and you're really sharpened on the Blaster. So we're going to do the mod. So this indent here, this is the neutral. This is 6, so you're sitting here in first, neutral, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. We're never going past here, so we don't actually have to take this side down unless we want to, but there's no need. You see, I have already started smoothing these out, and I'm going to do a touch more on there. But I wanted to show you, oftentimes on the Blaster, this is welded in. Now, on this one, it's a Phillips head, so we could probably get that out with an impact, Loctite it in. This one looks a little bit more challenging. It's like a star bit that's in there. I tried, didn't want to goof it up. So what we're going to do over here on my grinder, I'm just keeping it square and just floating it back and forth on here. Literally what I'm doing to get it smoothed down. And that's the process. Takes all of 5 minutes, really. All right, guys, that's that catch up there. We've done the Shift Star mod. That's how I do that. And the CTI brake system is installed, and I'm just pausing to kind of go behind the scenes here and just touch a lot of the nuts and bolts that I may have missed, giving a coating so that they don't rust up. It's interesting, not all of them did. Pretty sure these guys didn't get the treatment as well, but they're not rusting up. It's just some of them. But still, I'm going to go backwards, take a few things off, get things dipped in that Caswell, let everything dry, put everything back together, then keep moving on. It's motor building time is right around the corner, and I do have my replacement hubs squirreled in the back here. There we are. These are the Ones that are going to fit my either my 110 or 115 bolt pattern as a pair, opposed to my Blaster 100s, which I goofed on that. So we'll be a roller momentarily here. Yep. So I ended up going backwards a step again. These snap rings, these guys, I had an issue. I was using a pair of snap ring spreaders. The idea is to spread this guy so I can slip him down to the locking collar. These are pretty soft, and using those spreader rings there, it opened these things up almost as wide as my thumb, and they didn't come back. So this is fairly soft material. So what I've had to do is take them off, pair of channel locks, close these guys back up, and this is what it came with here. Just enough width to get your spreaders in there. So we've got it back, but recognizing they're soft, what I'm doing now, I took the whole axle off for leverage, and I just get my rubber mallet and a small flathead and give it a tap and bump it over there. And let's see how well I do on this one. Yeah, so that was unfortunate, but now it gave me I didn't need the excuse, but I had to take this down anyway because I wanted to make sure that all the nuts and bolts on this rear end had been dropped through the penetrating sealer. And you see my pile there of cleanup this afternoon, so we're in a better place. Oh, there we go. Pretty easy, actually. So I think I actually really overcomplicated that, thinking I was going to need more to get in there, and using the the spreader tool didn't need to do any of that. So can't say I made a lot of progress. Today, but pieces are here for me to keep on going. I'm going to let all of these dry overnight. These are some secondary ones I didn't put a whole lot of cleanup effort in, so they're not as pretty. Let my my swing arm bolt dry. We did get our shift star mod done, and I did slip on the new clutch actuator. Get in there, make this look pretty.